Hello and welcome to Paxton Road TV. This is the Tottenham Hotspur Preview Show for the game versus Newcastle. Kickoff 2:05 tomorrow. And we are joined by some super special guests in the house. We have, as per usual, resident guests, Mike Hotspur, Hustler, Darius 3K. And we're joined by the Irish Hotspur, James Forrester, and Brendan from the Cheese Room. Welcome, gentlemen. How are we all doing today?
All good, all good.
All good. Brilliant. That's
music,
brilliant.
Mate. I'm honestly happy to hear that intro music.
The music, we've missed it. We have missed Premier League. We have had to, I would say, suffer watching England play. No, it's not suffer, because obviously the last game was a bit more, competitive. But the other two, yeah. So I'm quite happy that we've now got back our team to watch tomorrow. So looking forward to this. So just before we start then, like, subscribe, share, comment. Paxton Road TV, our brand new channel in association with FTB Sports. We want to try and get as many viewers watching this. So if you do, please subscribe to our channel and share, comment, and all the rest of it. We're just going to go around the room for our guests, the special guests that are here, just to introduce themselves, who you are and where you can be found. So we'll start down at the bottom with yourself. David, the Irish Hotspur, off you go.
You can find me at the Irish Hotspur on YouTube and at the Irish Y on Twitter. And that's it, really.
Cool. James.
I'm co-owner of Spurs Related. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Instagram, you might have heard us on. We've got about 54,000 on there. And we've just started doing podcasts as well on YouTube. So I've been invited on here. I'm very happy to be on here and practice even more.
Brilliant. And Brendan, all the way from Brazil. Oh, Brendan, don't forget your mic. Oh, he's forgot his mic. We'll have to remind him about his mic.
Anyone good at lip reading? I think he says he's happy to be here.
You're on mute.
He's on mute, but he's not even being heard. Anyway, Brendan, when you get your mic off mute, we will come back to you. Right then, let's get into the show anyway. Let's get into the show. It's been a couple of weeks since the last match, obviously. We're now off the international break. How do you guys think the international break would have hindered or helped the team? I'm going to come to you first, Mike. What's your thoughts on how the international break may have affected us?
I'm hoping that it wouldn't really affect us too much. I'm hoping. I don't think, from what I can recall, apart from Davies, who's picked up an injury before he went. I think before he went on duty with Wales, I don't think we've picked up any injuries. I think Son should be back. I think he was potentially back for the Aston Villa game, but I think they gave him an extra week's rest. So hopefully he'll be back for the Newcastle game. Hopefully, the players will come back motivated and ready to kick on for the rest part of the season.
Okay. Brendan, I think we've got you back now because your mic was on mute and you was talking away merrily and we didn't have a clue what you were saying because I can't lip read. So I'll come to you next. How do you think the international break may have affected us as Spurs going forward?
I think it would have been a good break for us. Oh, hi, by the way. Sorry, my mic just wouldn't unmute for some reason. I think that it was good to have a break. It's been a while since we've had the international break, so it's good for the players to meet up with their national teams. I'm not a huge fan of the international break myself, but for the players, I think it would be a nice break, a nice change of scenery, and they'll come back refreshed and ready to kick on for the rest of the season. So I'm so glad that the Premier League's back, and it should be a good game against Newcastle.
Brilliant. David, I know you're a big Jose Mourinho fan, always singing his praises, and so he should be. We've had some interesting games, shall we say? Are you looking forward to this game tomorrow? And do you think the team's going to be raring to go?
Yeah, I can't wait. Look, it's been a very boring international break for me, lads. Ireland, we lost to Luxembourg, drew with Qatar, lost to Serbia. So it's been a very boring international break for me. I can't wait for this Newcastle game. I've been waiting for a while now. But no, look, honestly, we should be winning tomorrow. No excuses. I know Newcastle are a bit of an banana skin for us over the years. They have been. But look, if we want top four, we have to start with a win tomorrow. No excuses. It should be 3 points in the bag. Look, Newcastle, they don't play football. They're such anti-football at the minute. I've watched them the last few games, and they've been poor. But one thing I will say is, if they're in the game come 75 minutes, they will go for it. And what I've seen this year is they tend to win it if they're still in it come 75 minutes.
Yeah, very true, very true. Before I come to both yourself, James and Darius, I just gonna pop up the recent form we've had, and obviously the league table currently. So this is how we stand. 6th place, 48 points. Our form's been pretty good. Obviously, the last game against Villa was the 2-0 win. Before that was the diabolical performance in the North London derby. But before that, again, we've won 4 out of 5 games. We sit in 6th. We are only, as I said, 3 points behind Chelsea in 4th place. James, just coming to you, is top 4 still a realistic possibility for us?
Oh, 100%. Top 4 is definitely a thing we can push on for now. Like you said in that table, we're 3 points off top 4. 3 points in this Premier League season is nothing. A shock result for Liverpool, shock result for Chelsea, a shock result for Man United. We're back in top 4, and I don't think there's any reason with the run of fixtures we have, especially Newcastle tomorrow. I mean, there should be 3 points no matter what. And I know earlier in the season, like we were saying, we messed up and we conceded in the 97th minute. But I mean, if we go back to that, if we remember that Callum Wilson, that wasn't a penalty. I mean, it hit Eric Dyer's shoulder. We all know that's not a penalty, and the rules this year are being changed every week. So I think we've got to take that with a pinch of salt and make sure we completely batter them this time and get the 3 or 4-0 we need.
Yeah, that was that game against, and I'll come to the last 5 games that we played against Newcastle, but that was hard to take because, they changed and modified the rules as we went along from that handball situation, which was diabolical. Darius, tomorrow's game, must-win game for you?
There's no draws, no losses even in my head, and I'm pretty pessimistic when it comes to Spurs at the moment. But like Irish Hotspur said, Newcastle are genuinely, they are awful. They are completely awful. Even if you ask any of their fans, they all think they're going down. There's no hope within that team at the moment. So this should be like the perfect game to come back from an international break and kind of set the pace for the rest of the season. And I think, James, you just made a great point, and I was kind of thinking about it. I think that the fact that we're only 3 points behind Chelsea is so massive because there's so many decent teams playing each other still. There's about 8 or 9 teams that could probably take points off each other. There's going to be teams playing each other that you wouldn't be surprised that beat each other. So I think that there's going to be 100% space for teams to drop points. And it's just about keeping consistent. And I think that having a good defense and making sure that the defense is as good as it can possibly be for these last 8 or 9 games is what's going to be the difference between us potentially getting top 4 and not.
Yeah, I think it's fully on. It starts tomorrow. I think you're right in what you said, Darius. It's a must-win game. We have to win this game if we are to have any sort of realistic chance of getting into that top 4, but also with the confidence of the players, to lose or not even to win against a team like Newcastle, who are really struggling for form at this present time, I think would set us back, even though, this form suggests that 4 wins out of 5 is pretty decent form. But yeah, it's the manner of how we play tomorrow, looking to take advantage of a team that's not really doing anything in attack, not scoring many goals at all, and not really defending that well either. So a combination of those 2 things, I'm looking at 3 points for Spurs tomorrow. I'll ask a question. Like 9 league games left, how do you think Jose is going to utilize the squad? Who wants to answer that one? How do you think going forward for the next 9 games, this squad is going to be used? Who wants to take that first?
I'll jump in. I'll jump in quickly. I think that we've got to play with our best players now. There's no distractions. There's no Europe. We've got 9 cup finals. It's such a cliche, but we've got 9 cup finals now. And I want to see Bale. I want to see Kane. I want to see Son. Son's back, hopefully, for this game. So we should be going on the front foot. We've got Lo Celso coming back now as well. So we've not really got that many injuries, as James was saying. So we've got a real opportunity here. We've got our run-ins not that bad. Our toughest game is Leicester away and United at home, and the rest are fairly winnable. So I think, we should go for it. There's no distractions. There's no excuses. We should be going to win all of these 9 games.
I think you're so right as well. Just because I'm thinking about the teams that are above us, I think Leicester are out of most of the competitions. Are they still in the FA Cup? I can't really remember that. But Chelsea still have a great chance now because their bracket is so advantageous in the Champions League. So if I was Thomas Tuchel, I'd probably put my eggs more in that basket. Man United again probably got a certain guaranteed spot. So it's really and truly West Ham and us who are kind of teams who are just going to be focused on that Premier League, and that's what's going to spearhead us. We need to really take advantage of the fact that we did mess up our own season this season by going out of that Europa League. So we kind of have to rectify that by pushing as much as we can for that fourth spot.
David, do you see a lot of rotation going forward for the remaining part of the season, or do you think it's going to be Jose now sticking to a starting 11?
No, I think it'll be Jose sticking to a starting 11. After the Zagreb game and coming out of Europe, he's had the chance to isolate some of the players who just aren't good enough or not running for the shot. So for me, no, look, I fully agree. It's just getting your strongest squads out here, your strongest first 11 out here from now to the end of the season and picking up the points. He alluded to himself in the press conference. He was saying, that I don't have to rotate the squad as much now, So he can just kind of put his best players out there, and now it's up to players to train to be able to force their way into the lineup, rather than him saying, "Oh yeah, even though you've been shit this week, you're still going to play this Europa League game here," or you know what I mean. So it kind of gives the whole squad a kick up the arse, and it's probably what some of these players needed, to be honest with you.
Well, David, that's a nice little segue. It's like you read my mind. It's like you read my script. I'm just going to play some of what Jose actually said in his press conference when asked about squad rotation and asked about are players going to be unhappy if they're not picked. Let's have a little bit of a listen.
In one thing, you are totally right. We have less matches to play. There is no need of the kind of rotation that you normally make when you play lots of matches. I believe that we can look at it in two different directions. One direction is the one that you mentioned. The other one is probably the easy one for me, which is merit. One match per week, you play well, you give to the team what the team needs. The next match, you are there again. So probably for me will be more simple. But I admit that maybe you are right.
So it's quite clear from what he said. It's quite clear that yeah, and this is where it's going to be very interesting for me, because obviously the team that he picked last time and against Villa was almost a statement of intent. Obviously, we had those results against Zagreb and the North London derby, and I think that forced his hand. I think the game against Villa actually probably saved his job. James, coming to you, do you think, who do you expect to see in this starting lineup tomorrow?
I think you guys, what you said, are spot on. I think we're going to be playing our strongest team for the rest of the season. The only slight difference I would say is obviously we've got the cup game on the 25th. I think the game 4 days before that in the Premier League against Southampton, I think he'll rest a couple of players. But apart from that, I think you're spot on. Now, who do you think is going to be in the starting 11? I think it's got to be Kane, Son, and you've got to play Lucas at the moment. Lucas is the man in form. Man of the match against Aston Villa, our last Premier League game. He was by far the best player on the pitch, and I think you've got to play him over Bale. And I know people will say, well, Bale's only got a couple months left. I think Lucas deserves it. You can't disagree. And I think Bale will be there, like chomping at the bit to get ready if Lucas, comes off at half time after 60, and then he'll want to prove himself for the last few games in a Tottenham shirt.
What about Lucas playing in the 10 and Bale playing on the right? Do you think that could work, or do you think Lucas is better off the right?
I think
that's where the contention is, isn't it? Because Bale, who is it? Bale, Lucas, and Lo Celso,
Lamela as well.
So Lo Celso's coming in, and he played quite well as well in the previous match. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. On the right hand side, that's probably where I'd say it's mainly contentious, because I don't think Lucas is as effective out on the right as he is in the middle. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And also at centre back as well, whether he keeps the same two of Sanchez and Rodon. I thought they played really well against Villa. So it's one of them. Can you change your centre back partnership after they've kept a clean sheet?
Well, this is going to be the thing for me. So again, and it's a nice segue for those who remember the old days of Blue Peter. Here's one I made earlier. So this is a team I've predicted. No, so I know you haven't had any input into this. So I've taken the liberty of thinking about this and putting a team together. So I've got Lloris in goal. I've got Reguilon at back. I think Reguilon's fit. I think Davis is out anyway, so that's a no-brainer in itself. I've brought Toby back in as opposed to Rodon and gone for Sanchez. I've kept Tanganga at right back. How do you guys think Tanganga performed in that right back position in the last game against Villa?
I think the position is his as long as he continues to play well. It's hard to take him out, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm very conflicted only because for me, when I look at fullbacks now, and especially the way we play, I want both my fullbacks to have a very, very good attacking quality. And Tanganga's good defensively, but I feel like as a right back, it's a little bit reminiscent of when we were playing with like Aurier as a flying fullback and then Davis covering in. It sort of creates a little bit of imbalance, and that's my only fear with Tanganga playing as a right back. I think he's a great right back and the best we've got in terms of attitude and ability at the moment. But going forward, it's just he's not as good, and sometimes that can kind of halt what goes on the right and sort of shifts all of our attack over to the left and makes us a little bit predictable.
But isn't that spot where our weakness is? Because when Aurier plays, the space that he leaves exposed in behind him, I mean, that's where all the teams attack. I mean, you look at Brighton when we lost 1-0, they just targeted Aurier, and that space behind him, that's where most of our goals that come from, essentially, aren't they? So, although Tanganga might not be great as going forward, defensively, he cuts off that area of a weakness where we've been exposed time and time again. So, for me, if we've got Reggie on the left-hand side, who will go up and down all day long, for me, I'd rather us be maybe a little bit more solid on that right-hand side. If it means us not being exposed defensively, I think he might stick with that. I could be completely wrong, but
depends if he plays Bale as well. If Bale's playing on the right there, Bale doesn't track back, so you'd want a right back that is a bit more solid defensively. I'm a huge fan of Tanganga. I think he sees himself as a fullback, as a centre back, but he just doesn't have the height. I think that's his issue. Is that so that's why he's probably been pushed to right back, and he's superb there, and he gave his all. Him and Rodon were two of the highlights of that win against Villa. But as I was saying, I think if he does play Bale, you will want a more defensive right back because it would leave so much space because Bale will not track back, as we saw against Arsenal when Doherty was exposed so much. So I'm for Tanganga keeping that spot.
I think if you could. Oh, sorry. I think if you can. I think if you listen to what Jose was saying about Tanganga, like, you know, he was saying that he doesn't have the height to be a centre back. But, you know, he sees him as a right back going forward, but he needs to improve on his timings on when to go forward and cross the ball. And because it's Newcastle and they sit so far back, I do think you might see Aurier tomorrow bombing up and getting them crosses in. Even though, he's not great at crossing, I do think you'll see him playing bombing up there.
I think that's a possibility, David. And I was going to come to that point. I think that what I kind of thought is, you know, Aurier is probably definitely more attacking fullback. And in a game against Newcastle, you would hope that we would have the majority of the possession, that we would be on the front foot, and an attacking fullback as opposed to a more defensive fullback would be what we would be looking for. In terms of that midfield too, James, I'll come to you. Do you think that's a guaranteed midfield three, I say, of Højbjerg, Ndombele and Mora?
I think it has to be, doesn't it? I mean, Højbjerg's been one of the players of the season, and obviously he's had a better start to the season as opposed to the end. He's had a few, dodgy games against Manchester City and a couple of others. But I think you've got to play Højbjerg and Ndombele there. Sissoko's been very weak this year. I think you guys would agree. As we know, Sissoko can be a brilliant player, but he hasn't been up to it this year. And just quickly, back to what you were saying, who's to say, playing devil's advocate, you can't play Tanganga and Aurier and play Tanganga in the middle?
Facts. I was thinking of three at the back, I was literally thinking that, James, because that's such a good shout. Because it creates balance as well. You've got that defensive solidity of having three centre-backs. Tanganga can act as a right centre-back. So if you do want Aurier to bomb on, he covers that space fine. I think three at the back probably would work better for our team. Just to players on the pitch and the 11. Like, Aurier is not really a great right back. So if you've got somebody to kind of fill space, and same with Doherty, I understand why we haven't played three at the back all season, but if you want to play Doherty, the best place to play him is as a right wing back. So but surely I think that's a great point.
Three at the back against Newcastle. This is what I'm saying. Yeah. I can understand going forward maybe against certain teams, and I would imagine if we played in the cup final tomorrow against Manchester City, three at the back would be something to explore, but not against Newcastle, surely.
You see, I disagree with you only because that whole formation thing and 3 at the back shows that it's defensive is, for me, is a bit of a myth, because you can look at teams like Inter, like Dortmund, who played 3 at the back and attacked so much. It's how you set up the team. If Man City played 3 at the back, they wouldn't play defensive. Do you know what I mean? They would have both their fullbacks flying forward. So some 3 at the back format, if you play 3-4-3, for example, that's probably more attacking than a 4-3-3, because you've got 2 wing backs or 2 wing players, a wing back and a winger, and you've only got 2 centre mids. So for me, it's based on how you play. I've seen Jose Mourinho play 4-3-3 and make every single one of our players sit behind the line. So it's not, for me, the formation doesn't really prove anything. It's how that manager sets out his team to play. And I expect him, regardless of the formation, to look at that Newcastle team and say, we've got the quality and we're just better than you to kind of dominate the game. So for me, the formation isn't really a matter. If the formation helps, like James said, if we've got a right wing back and a centre back who maybe isn't really a great centre back, but isn't a great right back or isn't the best right back, maybe playing 3 at the back might help our players out. It's just a suggestion, to be fair.
I agree with Darius. And if you look back at one of Mourinho's first ever games under Tottenham, one of the formations we played against Olympiacos in the Champions League, if you guys remember, was a 5 at the back, and we played Serge Aurier on that right wing back, and he was phenomenal. He was the best player on the pitch, whipped in the ball, obviously the throw in, the ball boy, and we all know about that. But that game we played, I believe it was 5 at the back, and the wing backs were phenomenal. And obviously under Jose Mourinho, you don't expect that attacking football like that. So I think, like Darius is saying, you can make a 5 or 3 at the back look defensive, or you can make it look very attacking. It depends which way you look at it, really.
I think when you play 3 at the back, you need to have a centre back that can bring the ball into play, into midfield, because what happens with our team at the moment, Højbjerg drops into it and it makes a 5 anyway. So if he plays higher up, what you want then is for Ndombele to play higher up, one of your centre backs to then be able to bring the ball forward. I'm looking at Sanchez, I'm looking at Toby. I don't think. Well, this is what I was going to. My point I was alluding to was that Joe Rodon, for me, is a player that looks like he has that ability to be able to bring that ball into midfield and be able to do something with it. Whether or not Jose trusts him to be able to do that, and whether or not Jose wants to go to a 3, he's not traditionally a 3 at the back sort of player. I can fully understand all your points about us being how you play it, but it's something that, do we have those players to be able to play 3 at the back?
I personally think 3 helps. I think 3 is better than 4.
Yeah. See, I think he's tried it a couple of times this season, and it hasn't really paid off against Sheffield United. But apart from that, I can't really remember it paying off. And to be honest, if we lose to Newcastle and he put 3 centre-backs out on that pitch, he's going to get absolutely caned by our fan base. Our fan base will be all over that. Oh, you're playing 5 at the back against Newcastle, this, that, and the other. I can't see it.
People's mentality, when you see 3 at the back, 5 at the back, whatever you want to call it, everybody's mentality is that it's a more defensive shape. So again, it works for you if you win the game. If you lose the game, then he looks at being negative. It's all the how you play that game. And as I said, I don't think Jose is confident and comfortable with the players he's got to play that system. And I don't think it's a system of his choice anyway. I think he is a 4-2-3-1 man. He wants his players to work hard. He wants his players to do everything on the pitch, to give all the effort. And I think it's just about quality now for us. I think we lack some quality in that centre-back area, hence the reason why we're looking to probably buy a centre-back. And this comment here from Breezy Page, and you guys may want to pick up on that. What do you need in the summer transfer window? Who wants to go on that one?
I think you definitely need a centre-back, 100%. Yeah. Like a centre-back, like we were saying, if we're doing this 5 at the back, I'm not saying we're going to, but you've got to have a Skriniar. And I know that ship's probably sailed because he's now in Inter's starting 11, and we're not going to be able to afford him. But we definitely need a centre-back, that's going to stick in that position. He's going to be solid every game, can play 90 minutes, a bit like we had with, well, maybe not with Ledley King, but obviously that quality, we want that centre-back, and I think we've been lacking that for years now. I think the last proper one we had really was Jan Vertonghen. And we haven't really replaced him if you think about it. And I think we need a creative player as well. I don't think we've replaced Eriksen either. I think we can say, oh yeah, Kane's dropping back even further than normal. That just says a lot to me. We haven't really got that out and out number 10. So I think those are the 2 positions I would go with.
Oh yeah, I was reading something recently that said if we were to sell Kane, let's say we were to sell Kane, that we'd need to bring in 2 players because he's playing 10 and 9. So again, centre-back is all important this season, all important for us to get. Brendan, is there any other positions you think we need to strengthen on?
No, I agree with James. I think that centre back is key. I like the look of the Fulham guy, Joaquin Anderson. He looks really good, and he's
player,
Premier League proven, which
player.
is important. We want a player that can come in and doesn't need to adapt to the league. That's the risk that you take when signing players from overseas. So certainly centre back. You look at maybe the right back position. If Tanganga doesn't make it his own, maybe there's somewhere, because I can't see Doherty staying. Serge Aurier is in the last year of his contract as well. And we need to solve the second striker situation. Will we sign Vinicius permanently? I'm not sure. So there are a few positions. I think the outs are going to be more important than the ins, though, for Spurs this summer. I think we do need to shift some of the deadwood, refresh the squad. And Dybala, the Dybala rumours always come up.
Oh, that's Gus. I love that. It's just it's like a roundabout. It always comes back.
If Son goes, I can see Dybala coming in.
Okay, Mike, I'll come to you. Just in terms of players out on loan, do we see any players coming back off loan that may push for that starting lineup for next season?
I think it's the only one that seems to be in any kind of good form that would challenge the sort of starting 11 would be Oliver Skipp. I think Jack Clark's had a bit of I don't know if I saw something about him today. I don't know if it was an injury or if it said something about his bad luck continues.
Oh, yeah, it
was it an injury?
He's out to the end of the season, yeah.
He's a great talent, but I don't think even if he was in good form, I don't think he's quite ready for first team football just yet. But I think the obvious one is it's Oliver Skipp. He's young. He reminds me quite. He's got similar qualities to Højbjerg. So he's the future for me, and I'd like to see him in that. Get rid of Winks, get rid of Sissoko, bring Skipp in. Give him the game time that he needs, and I think he'll flourish into a top class footballer. I think he's literally got it all for that sort of position that he'd find himself in. So the rest of them, I think they just need time, another full season on loan, and then take stock the following summer and see where they are. But yeah, Skipp for me.
Okay.
And Skipp will help Højbjerg as well, won't he? Because Højbjerg, if you notice, if Højbjerg doesn't start, there's nobody to really play in Højbjerg's position. We kind of have to change up the formation or play a certain different style of way. So I think Højbjerg's probably played 40 games this season, or he's approaching that sort of game.
And it's probably the same if Højbjerg's having a nightmare. There's no reason why he can't come off and Skipp could take his place.
Yeah,
so and Højbjerg probably needs that as well. He probably needs that sort of incentive to be like, well, actually, I'm not guaranteed a starting spot. I've got this young lad here who's biting at my ankles to sort of get that.
And what better person to learn from as well? I think that's probably, as like you said, the skill set is quite similar in terms of, and I even think that Oliver Skipp has got qualities that Højbjerg doesn't have. I think Oliver Skipp's ball control and his close ball control for a defensive midfielder is quite impressive. He seems to be able to get himself out of situations, which I think is going to be incredibly important for us, because I can see that if players are pressing him, he can kind of get out of that situation. If you've got a player who can beat a press and then play a pass like he does straight through the midfield, you can create attacks kind of instantly, and you don't realize how important that is, having a defensive midfielder who can think forward. So I think he's going to be quite important. He might not start as many games as people think, but having him being able to replace Højbjerg and having that drop off not being as detrimental as Højbjerg to Sissoko is going to be so important for Jose or whoever's in charge.
Yeah, I agree. Getting back onto the game tomorrow then. This is our last 5 results against Newcastle in the league. One loss.
That 1-0 was horrible, wasn't it? I remember that one.
I think
Joe Linton scored 1 or 2 goals against us.
Steve Bruce, he was in charge of that game, and I just remember he couldn't believe how he got off that pitch with that win. I don't know how they did it themselves, but even looking at the last game where they got the 1-1, the equaliser from that penalty again. So we've had decent results against them, but it's as much as we say we should be winning this game, it might be a little bit tricky to begin with, because obviously Newcastle have to come out to win. They don't want to be going down. This is not a season for any team really to be going down. So looking at that, are we still very confident with tomorrow's result?
Yeah, look, I'm confident going into it. Look, these are prime relegation candidates. You know what I mean? I do think they are going down. I can't see them staying. Look, I know they have to come out and play football, but it's just the way Steve Bruce is. He's going to keep them hanging in. And for me, we should definitely have the game over and done with by half-time, to be honest with you. One thing I wouldn't be surprised to see, though, is maybe for the first 10, 15 minutes, seeing us sit tight, and try and draw Newcastle out, try and encourage them to come out, so that it's easier for us to get in behind them and pick them off.
Yeah. I can see it being a cautious start, and it all depends on this starting 11 for me. Obviously, we need to see who's starting the game. Is Jose going to be using this game again to make a bit more of a statement about players not being selected? Be interested with this Gareth Bale thing, because if Gareth Bale doesn't start tomorrow, I'm not sure we're going to see much more of him, if I'm honest with you, and that will tell me a lot as to whether or not he's going to stay or he's going to be getting to be staying on loan again next season. All the talks has been that he's going to be going back to Real Madrid. He's obviously used that as his standard line to say. What's your thoughts on Gareth Bale?
He's played well in the international break. He's been very good, in fact. I watched Wales the other night and I thought they were very good. And his delivery for, I think it was Danny James, was it? Yeah. Danny James is only 5'7", and that pass that Bale had to find to land on Danny James's head, it was pinpoint. That's a sort of delivery, and the crosses that Kane would probably thrive on. So I kind of think my thought process on Bale is slightly different. I do still think, even if he didn't play tomorrow, we would still see him coming into the rest of the season. I don't think him not playing tomorrow will define the rest of his season. There's too much for him to give, and he seems to be, especially during the international break. I don't know if it's just because he's more motivated to play for Wales, but he looked good on the international break. Even against Belgium and stuff, he did look good, and he looked fit. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just the formation. Maybe it's just Mourinho and his tactics don't quite suit Bale. But
James, I was going to say, James, are you a Bale fan?
I'm a massive Bale fan, and obviously growing up, seeing him in that prime sort of era was phenomenal. Every week you just thought we need a goal, and then the ones that come into my head against, like, Sunderland and Southampton, where he just bangs it in the 89th minute and goes top left, and you're thinking incredible. But obviously he hasn't been like that this time around. But you can't stay at your prime forever. And yes, he's 31, I believe now. But I still think Gareth Bale, we've seen sparks of brilliance, and his pace, his sheer pace is phenomenal, and I don't think he's actually lost that much of it. But I do I think we're going to have him another season? I don't think so. And do I think he's going to play for Real Madrid next season? I also don't think so. I think he'll either find a move or he'll be sitting on that bench, and it's a massive shame. It's a massive waste. But at the same time, I think sometimes it's time to move on. It's a bit of a shame we didn't see it as fans, obviously being able to go to the stadium this year and almost give him that farewell, because it's a weird one. We haven't been able to see him live, but yeah, it is a shame. But I think he is still a world-class player.
Yeah,
I do. I do think he's a player that we could definitely use tomorrow. To be honest with you, I'd like him to play because he can pass with the outside of the boot, the inside of the boot. He can smash long range shots. And for me, with a low block team like Newcastle, I do think it's going to be very important to have a player like him with his passing range. But another thing is, he needs to stop being a shitbag when he's on international duty, because he always gives it this big bollocks sort of stuff. You know what I mean? He's always running his mouth off in the press with Wales. I think retiring from Wales after this Euros will do his club career the world of good.
Honestly, I agree. And the thing is, I don't know if it's because it's because it is Bale, but I actually believed him. I don't think he was saying anything cryptic when he said that about I came to Tottenham to train. I genuinely believe he probably came to Tottenham for a good time and knowing that he's going to be able to get his fitness up for the Euros. And a
good time? We don't want players for a good time.
But that's the thing. If you look at him and the way, and Gary Neville made a bit of a reference to it. He didn't seem too mad that he was on the bench. He didn't seem too, do you know what I mean, angry that he wasn't playing. Joke. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And I said this in very earlier streams. If you had a choice between being at a club like Real Madrid, and I'm not saying Real Madrid is a bad club, I'm saying when Gareth Bale was there, he was abused, basically. They didn't like him, they hated him. If you were given the opportunity to come to Spurs, your team that you were seen as a hero as, you get paid the same wages, you're going to potentially probably play more, and you're going to get your fitness up for the Euros. It's a no-brainer for me. So I just think that he's going to go back, and like David said, he will probably, like James said, he'll either sit on the bench or he will find another club. I don't think the 15-20 million is really worth maybe 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 good games, or taking it half a year to get into fitness. That's just me personally. I'd rather reinvest that money and try and buy a player with a younger age rate, so we can sort of work on him, and maybe he might become the next Gareth Bale, but that probably won't happen, will it?
Well, for me, I think Gareth Bale has an opportunity now. He has shown that he's still got that ability to change a game, to do anything that, you know, we expect any player of that sort of level to be able to do. It's whether or not he fits into the plan of Jose. Does he fit into that style of play? He's a world-class player. And Jose, if he gets the best out of him, let's say even we get 85, 90%, I think it's a no-brainer to keep Gareth Bale, because if we have fans back in the stadium next season, shirt sales, all the rest of that stuff, I'm sure he'll kind of pay for himself. It's just whether or not we can afford to have a player that plays 10, 15, 20% of the season and be paying him that. I don't think we can. We need to be investing in the squad in areas of the pitch, as we said, at centre-back and that. So it really does. If he's playing at the highest level and he's played in certain games where we've seen him give the best, I would take a chance on it. But if we're only going to see him as a bit part player, 20% of the season, I don't think that investment's worth it. And that's my own personal view. Does anybody think differently about that?
I think I'd rather see the Bale money, like you said, like 300, 400 grand a week. I'd rather see that money invested in a new number 10, like I was saying, or a new centre back. And I know we've been linked with Marcel Sabitzer for a good few months now. And if I flip the question and said, would you guys rather have Marcel Sabitzer, 27 years old, could be an absolutely phenomenal player, or Gareth Bale, 31, 32 years old, going to play 20% of the season? I think you guys would agree you'd go for Sabitzer. So I think you've got to be clever with the money, and we know Levy's very tight with the money. So I think you just got to be sensible with it, really.
100%.
I think as David was saying as well, though, with Bale, his ability to hit worldies, like Newcastle will play low block tomorrow, so we're going to take a lot of long range shots, I think. So his ability there is key. I'm a huge fan of Bale. I think that it's going to come down to the last day of the transfer window with him. I think there's going to be a bit of brinkmanship with Real Madrid. Levy knows that they don't want him back, so it gives us a bit more leverage. And I think that we may be able to chop down a bit of the wages that we're paying for him, and it might make it a better deal for us. So I'd hold on to him, because he has got that ability to turn a game on its head. Yeah. Mike, do you want to say anything?
I was just going to say, Bale, to get football anywhere else, he's going to have to lower his wage demands, because no one's going to pay 600 grand a week. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to sit on Real Madrid's bench. I mean, Real Madrid have said he's not in the squad, so he's going to probably find himself in a Danny Rose situation. So,
but if you're in a situation with a Danny Rose on 600 grand, I think you might do it for a year. I would. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the thing with Bell. He could probably sit that out for a year. 32 he'd probably be, and he could then go MLS.
Probably get a similar contract, wouldn't
he? And very likely. But if he then lowers his wage demands after that point of being a year at Real Madrid, he could still be an attractable proposition for a number of teams in the world. So again, I think he's holding all the cards personally, and I don't think he'd be too concerned whether or not Spurs take him, because if he goes back to Spain, he is just going to stay there, and he will probably play golf again for a year, and then have the potential to have another move the season after. That's how I see it.
The thing is, he then hits the realms of the 32, 33. And for him to, if he's not played a season of football at that sort of age, it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to get back to the level in terms of fitness, match sharp. It'll probably take him the best part of half a season to even get that. And how many teams are going to sort of pay him over 100 grand, 200 grand, whatever it might be a week, just for him to get match sharp.
I think one more thing we haven't covered and you got to consider is obviously the reason why Gareth Bale is going to be sitting on the bench at Real Madrid is because of Zinedine Zidane. Now, Real Madrid have got Liverpool next week. I mean, you know what the Real Madrid board are like. Say they lose and get absolutely smashed by Liverpool and then they have a bad run in the league. Zinedine Zidane might not be there next season, and then it could be a completely different proposition. Gareth Bale may actually get into that squad. So you got to consider the Real Madrid side of things. Obviously, if Zinedine Zidane's not there next year, Bale's going to be rubbing his hands together and thinking, I could actually have 1 or 2 more seasons at Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Not only that, but if we spent all season trying to get him fit, I don't understand why we wouldn't take him next year, because the 15-20 million it's going to cost kind of throughout the season to cover him. what winger are you going to get coming in with that sort of quality, who can produce them numbers? Who can pass the ball with the outside of the ball, put in a banger, put in a cross. I don't see what other player you're going to get. So for me, I would actually take it and just concentrate on spending the money that we do get from the board and stuff in the defence in that area. Because if we don't, we are going to have to look at buying another player for that right-hand side. Look, and for me, it's just money we don't have. So for me, I would actually take up the second year, especially after putting all the time in to get him fit.
Well,
and then I use that money to properly improve the defence.
I think there's definite options, Dave. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And one of the things is that obviously Levy is a businessman first, so he's going to look at the best business option for him and the club. So yeah, we watch this space. And I agree with and I agree with Brendan. It probably will wait all the way up until the last day of the transfer window before a decision is made. Right, let's move on. This is going to be the last part of the show, and this is my favourite part. Score prediction. I'll go round the room. I'll start at the top and work my way round. We're going to start with Mike at the top, who I think is winning this race at this present time with score predictions. I'm going to get my pad out again, get the pen out. Off you go, Mike. Off you go.
The thing is, if it was, if we had played Newcastle like the week after we just played Aston Villa, I'm sure the team probably wouldn't be too different. But now we've got the likes of Son back, etc. For me, it all depends on the starting lineup, which will obviously determine the scoreline. But I'm going to go. This is the thing. The thing that throws me is who he's going to play centre backs, because that will determine whether we keep a clean sheet or not. But I'm going on the basis that Toby will probably fit in there, so I'm going 3-0.
Yeah, because I don't think Callum Wilson's fit yet. I don't think
he might be back. You know, I think he was been training. I think Sam Max the man as well. I think might be back as well.
Why is he come back when it's us?
They've been training for 10 days, so it's up to.
I'm not even worried about Callum Wilson, to be honest. If we go with our strongest centre backs, who is that? I'm not even giving Newcastle a chance here. They're dump. This could come back to bite me on the backside, but I'm going 3-0.
3-0 for Mike there. He's put it out there. It's live. It's put out there. It's now in the ether. Darius, what's your thoughts?
You know what, Mike, you're going to be very, very surprised at me, because I was thinking the exact same thing. My mentality for this game, right? My mentality is like, I'm not even thinking about this game. My mind's on the Man U game. Because the way that Newcastle fans have been talking about themselves is like, I'm hearing 5-0, 6-0 losses. They have no hope. They think they're going down. So if the fan base is like that, I can't even imagine what the dressing room is like. Matt Ritchie's having fisticuffs with Steve Bruce. I can't imagine that team is in any mentality to play a game. So for me, my mind is not even on this game. I'm thinking 3-0 win. We're on to Man U. Like I'm not even. And this, like I said, it will probably come back to bite me on the arse, but. Newcastle are genuinely, like you said, they are hot garbage. Like, they are so bad. It's just I can't. I'm sorry. I can't see any other result. I don't. Darius. I know and this is me, pessimist Spurs fan speaking, who said I'm never going to predict a clean sheet, but I really can't see anything else. And if I do see anything else, I'm going to lose my absolute mind. So I'm saying 3-0 just to the fact that I hope it is.
3-0, then we could. I mean, this is coming back to bites on the backside.
Honestly. We remember the North London derby one that Mr. Darius 3K said. That definitely came back to bite.
What did I say to that as well? I said 2-2 to that, didn't I?
You said, basically your words were, we don't even have to worry about Arsenal. We were relying on their mistakes. But look what happened. We made the mistakes that game. Interesting. Brendan, take it away. Give your overview about tomorrow and your scoreline.
I'm going to go 3-1. I think if Wilson is back, that he is a danger. So I'll go 3-1. Newcastle's form is terrible. They've won 2 of the last 18 games, which is relegation form.
Did you say 2 of the last 18?
Yeah.
Oh,
in that time, they've lost 11, drawn 5. It's been terrible. So yeah, I'm going 3-1. If Sonny's back, I think Son Kane will get the goals, as they did in the fixture last season. Sonny scored a great goal from the edge of the area against them, nice low one. So yeah, Newcastle, they're not great. They're not great. So I'll go 3-1. I still think that we're a bit ropey at the back. They'll get a goal, but we'll have too much for them.
Yes, Brendan, like that. James, let's see what you're saying.
I think very similar to what Darius and and Mike said, I think I was going to say 3-0. And the reason why was because, like we said, Newcastle are absolutely terrible this year. And I watched their last game against Brighton, and oh my goodness, they could have had 90 minutes and not scored. They were horrendous. I'm gonna say the clean sheet. I don't want to be the same. I'm gonna actually go 4-0. I don't want to say the same. I'm gonna say 4-0. I'm gonna say Kane. I'm gonna say Kane brace. Son's gonna get one on his return. He's gonna come off the bench and score, and or if he starts, then score. And Lucas as well.
He's even naming when players are gonna score. I like this. This is the sort of thing I like. Here we go then, Mr. Irish Hotspur. Come on then, let's have you.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go with Darius. First of all, it's great to see Darius, drinking the Kool-Aid and getting on the train. The hype train, I absolutely love it. I'm going to go 3-0. I'm going to go 3-0, lads. I do expect us to rock up to the 2. I expect us to spank them and head back to London for with the 3 points. With Newcastle, look, I was speaking to a lad, he has his own YouTube channel and he's a Newcastle fan as well, and he reckons that St. Maximin and Wilson will be back. But look, if they're not back, it's even more better for us, because who are they going to rely on? You know what I mean? So for me, I'm going to go 3-0. I do think we're going to beat them easy.
Don't sleep on Ryan Fraser. That's all I'm going to say.
He's played up front this year, so imagine him up front against like Sanchez or someone like that. He'd be eaten alive.
Right, I'm going to have my little say. Now, again, everything all depends on the starting 11. It all depends on what mentality these players come out for, who's in that starting 11. For that reason, I think he's probably going to have a very similar lineup. I said there's going to be 1 or 2 changes, I believe, in that lineup for tomorrow. I'm not liking the fact that Callum Wilson and St. Maximin are coming back, because our defence is our weakness, 100%. Saying all of that, as Brendan said, Newcastle are terrible. So anything less than a win tomorrow and at least 2 goals for us would be, I think, not very good. But I'm going to be a little bit more cautious. I'm going to say 2-0, just for the fact that we are still a little bit maybe not unsure of who and how players are going to come back in. I think Lamela comes back into the starting 11 tomorrow, and Mora starts tomorrow, I believe, and that will give us more impetus to have that sort of energy levels to keep the players playing at that high intensity, which they need to do. And if we take the game to Liverpool, if we take the game to Newcastle like how I expect us to take the game to them, it should be comfortable. But I'm always a little bit cautious of our defence. But they showed me enough in that Aston Villa game that if they work together well and there's a little bit more talking throughout the whole back line, we can keep a clean sheet. So I'm going 2-0. I put myself down, Sam, 2-0.
Very positive household you have there now.
I am so nervous now.
Let me just remind you all of your score lines. Let me just remind you all. We had Mike, 3-0 Spurs, said it with his chest. Darius, 3-0 Spurs, again, said it with his chest. Brendan, 3-1, a little bit more cautious. James went AWOL and just went 4-0, didn't care. David said 3-0 again, just throwing it out there. I'm the only one who's had a little bit more caution here. I'm saying 2-0, but we've all gone for a Spurs win.
I think
Go on, sorry.
I think you've got to remember, like I said, I watched the Newcastle game last time. If Brighton can beat them 3-0 and Brighton are under relegation, we've got to beat that, right? So,
and it's not even like Brighton are bad. Newcastle was so bad that game. It was awful.
I think we should stop talking about this now, because there's too much. There's far too much clips that could be sent out if this doesn't go our way. But I don't expect it. I don't expect it not to. There's a few more comments here. Mr. Silver Fox, afternoon, gentlemen. Newcastle desperate for points, and they enjoy playing you lot. 2-1 to Newcastle. Come on now.
You focus on Liverpool.
Come on, Mr. Silver Fox. We know what you're doing. Come on. Jason, Newcastle going for relegation. Spurs should breeze it. Scotty, this geezer knows. I don't know which geezer he's talking about.
He's on about you with the 2-0 prediction.
Well, there we go. There we go. I like that. Scotty, me and you, we can talk. And this is what I'm talking about. Mr. Silver Fox says, I am screen recording in case. You know what happens if he screen records? We'll be all over Twitter.
Well,
and memes.
Darius can blame it on his Kool-Aid, so you know we're all right with that one.
Honestly, I'm telling you, this is the most optimistic I've been all season. So this is going to be the one that Callum Wilson has a masterclass and Sam Maximan turns into Messi. So
absolutely.
Oh, no.
I will say to you, man, look, there's no point in recording or anything like that. You're just going to waste storage on your phone. You know what I mean?
Breezy Page can see this going viral if Spurs lose. Oh dear me.
No.
Oh dear me. No, we're not losing. What we're talking about. We cannot lose. We cannot lose to this team tomorrow. I'm not having none of it. And I think I'm agreeing with all of you guys. It's a Spurs win tomorrow. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Just before we go, like, subscribe, share, comment. Brand new Paxton Road TV. We need your support. Please support us. There are other channels coming in association with FTB Sports. That's the United Agenda. Look out for that. That's Man United. But we're all about Paxton Road TV. And we will be here on Sunday, just after 4 p.m. I think 4:15 for the reaction show, where we'll be doing all the dancing and all the jigging. As you can see, there's nobody clipping us up tomorrow.
That little dance, you have to give the Newcastle fans something there. He's going to clip that little dance now if they win.
You know, the amount of clips I've had from some of these Arsenal fans, I'm used to it now. Don't matter. I don't care. Gentlemen, thank you all very much. It's been a pleasure. I hope we can get all of you on at some point again. I know you're all busy, guys, but it's been really good. And we will be out. See you guys soon.